those card games, some of them like poker, seem to have an element of skill. And some of them seem to be equally pretty random and just based on the luck of the gods or something. But is there any, from a neuroscience imaging perspective, is there a difference involved when a game involves skill? And is that like sports? Is that like winning at tennis? And then also, is there any evidence that games that don't involve skill rationally are thought to involve skill by people that play them? Does somebody who plays a slot machine think that there's a certain way that they can win, that they can apply skill to that? And how does that factor into your thinking about it?
You've touched on a large number of issues here, and maybe I can just touch on one, which is something called the gambler's fallacy, which is this issue that if you're actually putting money on the line, a lot of times people will tell you, look, the die has come up negative 7 times in a row. It's got to go positive at some point. Why isn't it the next time? So they'll bet again. And they'll keep thinking, but what they're not thinking about is that at each particular time, there's a particular probability. Okay, let's like flipping a coin, okay? It's a 50-50% chance each time. Just because the last 25 times have been tails doesn't mean that the 26th time is going to have an increased probability of being heads. This is a well-known phenomenon. Gamblers fall for this quite a bit. And people have started to ask, is that something that's naturally hardwired into us? We do seem to have 2 different systems for probability assessment in terms of standard probability assessment, and then something more complex called contingent probability assessments, or Bayesian probabilities, where you look at the probability of one thing given the probability of something else, okay? A different brain system is involved with that. As something that's more evolutionarily advanced, and is also one of the systems that's most easily hurt by any type of psychiatric problem. We see thinning of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is a fundamental component of these contingent probability assessment systems. It's thinned in every psychiatric illness. Everyone, including pathological gambling.
And on the slot machines, some of the new high-tech machines, they, unlike the 3 little cherries that pop up in the sort of classic slot machine, they have mechanisms where you may have a string of things, and then the other one will come. Since it's digital, it'll come and look like it's so close to winning, and the machine will, and there's voice communication to the gambler, and they'll say, "So close, try again," and you're looking at it, and you're like, "Man, it's just another inch, and I'm a winner." So it's designed that way.
It doesn't seem like a binary. It seems like you really did it.
Right. Exactly, and it's designed that way.
Right.
The best proximity effect, exactly.
And back on playing card games, there is definitely some skill involved. But when you're sitting around the table with your friends on a Friday night, there is some skill involved when the playing field is even. In a casino, the table, it's tilted. I mean, the casino, there's a reason why they have 7 decks, or how many times they can shuffle the cards, and don't allow card counting, and all the other different things that they do to tilt the odds in their favor. So there may be some skill, and you may be able to win, but eventually, over time, they will always win. And there's a great story in the Atlantic just about a month ago that Mark Bowden wrote about a guy who went down. He's a professional card player from Pennsylvania, and the casinos will go after these big card dealers that play and will gamble a lot. And they kept coming to him to try and get him to come in. They target these guys that they call whales, and they were trying to lure him to come in. He kept negotiating with them to even the table. And then when he got it into a position that he thought was good, he went in there and he played, and he won like $15 million because he now had the upper hand. They don't want him back in their casino anymore. The guy that negotiated that deal with him got fired. It's a great story.
But it's also, it brings up another point. You talk about this kind of intermittentness of the reinforcement. And it's important to consider these people are using a well-known phenomena from behavioral psychology, where basically, why don't they give you like kind of predictable rewards? Why do they give you just intermittent reinforcement? Well, intermittent reinforcement turns out to be the thing that extinguishes the slowest. It's the slowest to develop an association between one thing and another thing when it's just an intermittent association. But when that association gets there, it's also the slowest of any association to extinguish. That's what they want. They want to be able to have something that extinguishes very, very slowly. So when you're not winning, you keep persisting.